Good morning and welcome to the first Child of the Week Assembly for our spring term and the first one of a new year, 2022. I hope you had a really good Christmas and enjoyed lovely time with friends and family. We begin our assembly in the way that we normally do with our liturgy. In the beginning, when God created all things, he said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Let your light shine. God is light, and in him there is no darkness. Let your light shine. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Let your light shine." Well, today's assembly is about hope. That hope has something to do with your light shining, though, and I love this image of our rainbow, and it shows everybody is able to contribute and shine their light, and that brings hope to the world in which we live, our local community and the wider community. So I want to share something about that hope today. What does hope mean? Well, I've chosen a few words here that may help us to unpack it a little bit. Maybe a hope is a wish. Maybe you hoped for something for Christmas. It might be something bigger than that. It might be a dream. Maybe you hope to be a footballer when you're older. It's a dream, an ambition that you've got. Your hope can be a religious belief or something that you hold to, your values that you hold to dearly. It could be an expectation, something you expect to happen, or maybe a goal in life. It's quite a wide-ranging word. What does it mean for you? I thought we'd look at some definitions of hope. So the dictionary is a good place to start. Says, hope is a feeling that something you want is likely to happen. That something in the future is likely to happen. A little boy, aged 7, Stephen, said, hope is a wish in your heart of good things to come. Both of those people talking about hope as something that is in the future. But I think hope is also something that can be in the present as we live our lives and shine the light in each of us. One very famous man, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who died actually this Christmas, said, hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. Let's say that again. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. Now, he was a Christian, and I think that the light he spoke of was God's light that is seen in the lives of people every day. And he was somebody who shone his light brightly. Because he was such an important figure, I thought it'd be good just to think a little bit about his life today. So who was Desmond Tutu and how does he help us to understand hope? Well, you may have seen his face on the news, maybe in the television or the newspapers, not just because he died over Christmas, but he's been such a large figure. People describe him as a giant of a man, and yet he was tiny. He did so many things that were kind and caring, and was an incredibly brave person, taking courage and standing up for what he knew to be right, even when he was the only person to do so. So let's think a little bit about his life. He was born in South Africa, and that was at a time when people with black skin were separated from those who had white skin. People with black skin had to go to different schools. They were treated as second-class citizens. It was as if they weren't as important or valued as other people. Now, one day when Desmond Tutu was a child, he was out in the street walking with his mother when a white priest called Trevor Huddleston showed respect to his mum by tipping his hat to her. It's a way of showing respect. It was the first time that Desmond Tutu had ever seen a white man show respect to a black person, and he was totally amazed. It blew his mind. When he left school, Desmond Tutu wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a doctor, sorry. But because his family was so poor and they couldn't afford to train him, he became a teacher instead. Now, because of the colour of his skin, he had to teach in a school where all the children were also black. And the government didn't give so much money to those schools, and the classes were always incredibly big. Desmond Tutu knew that that was unfair. He trained to become a priest, and he trained a little bit in England. Later became a bishop and used that important role to try to help the government in South Africa to understand that what it was doing was not fair. He wanted to make life fairer for people who had black skin and to bring peace to his country because there was so much fighting between those who were black and those who were white. Now, he was awarded a very special prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, in recognition of all his hard work. And that award helped to bring attention to the problems of South Africa, and things began to change for the better. People with black skin were given more rights and things were made fairer. He eventually became the Archbishop of Cape Town, and his proudest moment was in 1994 when he announced that another really famous black person, Nelson Mandela, became the first black president of South Africa. Now, since he retired, he continued to work hard to bring peace and fairness to people who found that life was unfair, maybe because they were sick or maybe because they were poor. Those people who couldn't speak out for themselves, so he spoke for them. He was an amazing person. And he said some amazing things. Listen carefully to some of these quotes, and they refer to the work that he committed himself to in his life. In God's family, there are no outsiders, no enemies. It was quite something to say when he was in South Africa with all the violence and the aggression going on towards black people. A person is a person because he recognizes others as persons. It's about equality, that we're all equal in the sight of God. Hate has no place in the house of God. Remember, he was saying these things in a very difficult situation with people who didn't want to hear. Lastly, how could you have a soccer team, a football team, if we were all goalkeepers? How would it be an orchestra if all were French horns? He was somebody who celebrated diversity, the rainbow colour of different people. This is one of the things that I really love that he said. Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. That he lived out in his life. But basically what he was saying was, let your light shine. Let your light shine where you are. Do the good that you can where you are. And that will make an enormous, great difference. It's not just people like Nelson Mandela who are great. I wonder if you noticed in the New Year's honours list that was talked about on the newspapers and the television, that 2 children received the British Empire Medal for the charity fundraising that they'd done. And I thought I'd bring this to you because these children were nothing like Desmond Tutu in his greatness and the celebrity, if you like, that he was. But 2 ordinary children doing their bit and letting their light shine. Here we've got Tobias Weller, aged 11. He raised £157,000 for the special needs school that he attends and a children's hospital charity that had helped him through his illness. He completed 111 miles on his trike, you can see him here. And he also did a 2.5-mile swim and ran the length of a full marathon, 26 miles. That's an enormous deal. And here we've got Max Woozy. He's 12 and he raised over £500,000 for a hospice in North Devon, inspired by a friend who died of cancer at the age of 74. He spent every night in a tent since 28th of March 2020. That's really when lockdown started. He's still in his tent. What an amazing thing to do. So let's sit and reflect quietly. Think a little bit about the life of Desmond Tutu and all the wise and loving things he said and he did that brought hope to our world. How can we let our light shine and bring hope this week? Let's put our hands together and I'm going to lead us in a prayer. If you agree with me and want to show that, then you say amen at the end. Dear God, help us to learn from the things that Desmond Tutu did and said to bring fairness, kindness, love and hope to other people. Help us to shine our light brightly and to do our little bit of good where we are this week. Amen. Now, we haven't got a Child of the Week names to bring today for this assembly, but I will be bringing those on Monday. So there's no reason not to let your light shine brightly. I hope that in whatever you do over the next few days, that you will smile and that you will bring joy where you are and that you will be kind and good. And so go in the light and the peace of Jesus. In the name of Christ. Amen.